This episode is brought to you by Dime Media. Love supporting local, but looking to save? I've got the solution. Introducing the 2025 CNY Women's Network Members Card. This is your passport to exclusive year-round savings at over 35 amazing women-owned businesses across Central New York. Whether you're grabbing coffee, booking a spa day, or shopping a local boutique, using your members card means more than just discounts. You're empowering women, strengthening small businesses, and building a thriving community one purchase at a time. Want to see all the offers and partner spots? Head to cnywomensnetwork.com/members-card or click the link in our bio. And here's the best part. Join the collective by CNY Women's Network and you'll get your members card free with your annual membership. More details at cnywomensnetwork.com/membership. Let's grow together, one card, one connection, one business at a time. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cultivate CNY. I'm your host, Alex Canavan. And in today's episode, I couldn't be more excited to welcome Yarden Carroll to the show. Yarden is the founder of Crowned Creative, where she believes resilience and creativity aren't just nice to haves, they're the driving forces that transform businesses and lives. Growing up with humble beginnings, raised by a single mother of four, and deeply inspired by her dad's creative dreams and her mom's unstoppable drive, Yarden learned early that passion and grit can carve a path through even the toughest challenges. From earning degrees in marketing, engineering, and nursing to founding Crown Creative, Yarden's journey has always been about building something meaningful and helping others do the same. Today, as a wife, a mom to 3 amazing boys, including one extraordinary son on the autism spectrum, and someone who knows firsthand how loss can reignite a deeper purpose, Yarden is more committed than ever to empowering businesses to tell their authentic stories and create legacies they're proud of. In today's episode, we're diving into the power of resilience, the beauty of creativity, and how life's biggest challenges often shape our greatest victories. So, without further ado, let's welcome Yarden Carroll to Cultivate CNY. Yarden Carroll, welcome to Cultivate CNY.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really excited to sit down with you. I love chatting with you, Yarden.
I do.
Yarden is one of our beloved members of the collective. Such an honor to have you in our community.
Beloved.
You really add a layer of fun and humor and, may I say, sparkle to the collective.
I like sparkle and glitter and bling. Yes. I like that. Thank you.
Well, I'm so excited for today's conversation. One of the reasons, of course, being because we're collaborating pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
On a really awesome workshop that we're going to be bringing to our communities. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. Because first, I want to figure out who you are. I actually haven't learned too much about your background.
Okay.
I want to know how what led you to starting the Crowned Creative. So give us a little background.
Okay. Why am I so funny? I get it from my daddy. Okay. And let's just say, I think a lot of people forget to smile. And I think making people laugh kind of lowers the barrier, and it allows for a very difficult conversation. So I like to make people laugh, lighten things up. And I don't know, but what triggered me, and it was a trigger to start my business, was the pandemic. So now, on a serious note, this was 2020, February 2020.
So right before.
Yeah. So my older sisters are in the nursing field. So we knew about the pandemic and everything that was going on, and the testing that was being done, because they had to be tested in order to show up for work. So we had the Super Bowl party, and one of my sisters had gotten tested and she had COVID. But we all kind of were gathering together, and it just ran rampant in our family. So my father, who was actually not in good health to begin with. He contracted it and he passed away.
Oh boy.
So, yeah, so a week before he died, I he may have been transitioning to die anyway. It's weird because some of the things it was like he was talking in code when we would have conversations. Weird. But
Hmm.
I remember on my son's birthday, which was the 16th of February, he had a conversation with me and he wanted me to step in fully to my creative side because he felt like a lot of my personality was kind of dimming because
Yeah.
I wasn't as creative as I used to be. So we had a long conversation and he said he wanted me to um get back into my writing and get back into my creative outlets and show up more because he felt like I just wasn't showing up. I wasn't as bright and bubbly as I used to be. And then
And how old was your son when he said this?
well, he said this to me on my son's birthday.
Oh, your
On
father said
Yes,
this?
my
Okay.
father said this to me and he died 4 days later. So, um it was almost like I didn't have time to grieve because I'm the youngest sibling, but I'm also the first to get married, the first to graduate college, the first to buy a house, the first to do a lot of things. So I was really responsible for putting everything together for his funeral and everything. So I didn't really have time to grieve. Um, but once I did, I kind of broke broke down, and I fell into a really dark space in my life during the pandemic after he passed away. And then it was getting back into my writing and my creative element is what kind of sparked
Got you out of
Crown
that.
Creative. Yeah. And then,
So
so
getting so when you say writing,
yeah.
what kind of writing do you like to do?
So I write a lot of short stories, poems. I just started writing. I was like pouring my heart into a lot of stuff. So that kind of what sparked. I just got back into my creative element and I actually went back to school during the pandemic, got my bachelor's in marketing, and then I got a dual certification in digital marketing through American Marketing Association and Digital Marketing Institute. So I kind of tapped into some things that I really didn't know that I liked, which was numbers and analytics, and then the creative aspect of it. And that's kind of how Crown Creative was born. So Crown Creative is more of me stepping into my, queendom kind of. So that's
Your queendom.
yeah.
I
So
like
that's
that.
where the crowned element comes from because I felt like I lost a spark. I lost that part of me. Um, and then I just felt like when I'm in my creative element, I'm just like
You
I
are
am her.
Yarden.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
am
are her.
right. So I just that's
Yes.
kind of how it came about.
I
So
love that. That's
yeah.
amazing. And what made you want to go back to school during the pandemic? Was it because you had that kind of time, space, and the experience of loss where you were like, I think it's time to make a pivot? Was it an
Yeah.
intuitive feeling, or had you
Um
been thinking about doing that for a long time?
so actually uh I have multiple degrees, but I didn't have a bachelor's at the time. I actually got scammed out of my bachelor's degree in nursing. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. So there was this, I still wanted to fulfill that goal to get my bachelor's degree. And my day job is a lot of engineering and numbers and analytics and project management.
Mhm.
So, I kind of was like, oh, I like marketing. I like, I like the writing and the ad creatives and things like that. So I was like, well, let's see what this does. I actually started out in finance and I hated it. So I pivoted to marketing. And
I had a similar
yeah,
experience
it
too
was
there.
awful.
What made you want to pursue finance
Um,
at first? What did you
I
think it was going to
just,
be for you?
I thought it was going to be a way for me to understand how rich people make all this money.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm gonna be rich in
Yeah.
finance. I was
Yeah.
like, I hate this.
No, that was my
So
exact philosophy too. I
hate it.
was like, well, if I just understand it, then I'll
Right.
have it,
Right.
right?
And
Yeah.
that didn't work out. So I was like, I can't, I hated it. And I'm not one to if I hate something and I
Mhm.
say hate, I will not stick it out. I will like I don't I believe in pivoting. If you don't like something, don't do it. So
Mhm.
I switched and then marketing and then it was like, no, I could get with this. So
So what do you love about marketing? Like what are your summer why first of all, it's a creative outlet. It is
yes.
it's
Yes.
like business and art mixed together,
Yes.
right?
It
But
is.
do you love the art of building and selling and promoting too? Like I
Oh,
assume you
I
would,
love
right?
it. I love because I mean, let's be honest. If you don't have any sales, you have no business, right? You can't make any money. Um, but the nuances and the psychology behind why people buy and just one little tweak to your messaging or one tweak to an ad or one tweak to anything, you can kind of see big returns or a lot returns on your ROI. So I kind of just I don't know, I just felt it. And I'm one of those people. If I feel it in my gut, I'm gonna go with it. If I like it. If I don't like it, no,
Mhm.
we're not doing it. So
Yeah, especially in like this day and age, you know, marketing is everything.
mhm.
And sometimes I'm like, how unfortunate that marketing is everything because truly marketing is so much work. It's a
Right.
full-time
Right.
job.
It is.
It's a whole department,
Right.
right? And there's
Right.
a lot of solopreneurs that are probably listening to this right now that are doing wearing all the hats and
Yeah.
doing all of the marketing themselves.
Yeah.
But, it's like you can have an amazing product that
Mhm.
nobody else has, nobody else makes, but
Right.
you could not be seeing the sales
Right.
or the, attention that your brand deserves because the marketing isn't right.
Correct. And all marketing is not created equal. So I think there's this misconception where with social media marketing and um I mean, social media is a form of marketing, but I kind of think of marketing um, as internal and external because ultimately you have to get in front of the right people strategically in order to. You don't want to be the best kept secret because the best kept secret, you're not going to be paid, right? But you have to think about it as like, where are your buyers? Where is your audience? And you also have to think about the fact that your buyers and your audience are not the same people because your audience is on social media. They could be liking and sharing all your stuff,
But they're not
but
buying.
they're not buying.
Mhm.
So I think once people understand the difference between what types of marketing is going to move the needle, the difference between their audience and their buyer, I think then they can really get um, at least get an idea of what they need to do to move the needle and how to get the most bang for their buck, and be
Mhm.
strategic about it.
Yeah, I'm assuming that, like, once you figure out, like, where that customer base is coming from or how they're finding you, then you kinda just, like, work backwards from
Yeah.
there, but, like, how do you go about figuring that out? I mean, say you are a solopreneur that's just, like, on the hamster wheel, and it's really hard for you to do that zooming out
Right.
and that analyzation, or maybe you don't even know how to analyze
Right.
your own platforms, right? Like,
Right.
where does someone like that start to figure out where their customers are?
So first off, you have to think about like what are you offering? What services do you provide, right? What solutions do your services solve, right? So ultimately, when you think of what problems you're solving for your customers, you have to think about where they are in the buyer cycle because a lot of people think if they just show up, somebody's going to buy.
Mm,
Wrong. That's not
yeah.
how that works. So you have to think about where they hang out, where they show up, um, what other things are they buying? What is the need or the desire or the emotion behind um the reason why they buy? So I don't think a lot of people, which I don't blame them. I mean, you didn't get into business to become a marketer and a social media influencer, but these are the times we live in, right? But I think if you start off with the problem that you're solving, or the service and offering that you provide, and that need or that desire, then you can kind of get a gauge where your buyers are, where they're showing up, and kind of reverse engineer it and just do some research that way. Because I mean, ultimately, you have to meet them where they are, and you have to show up where they are strategically in order to get them to buy. Because if not, I mean, you can't just post a website or and think people are going to show up, because that's not what happens. So
Yeah, and it's not like a one size fits all
no,
situation either. It's
no.
like, if you are a brand with a product that might have multiple different like
Mhm.
customer avatars or whatever
Right,
you want to call them, there's going to have to be multiple strategies for every single platform that you're using, right?
correct,
And like,
correct.
I mean, one thing I wish we could do with CNY Women's Network is have the bandwidth to
Yes,
differentiate our strategy across every single platform, because that's what these big brands are doing. Like they have a full-time person that is just on TikTok, that is
right,
living in TikTok. They live, sleep, eat, and breathe it. And they have a strategy for TikTok, but their strategy for Instagram is completely different, right?
right.
And then they're growing those audiences very rapidly on both of those platforms, because that's the art of it. But most business owners, all we have the time to do is to repurpose the content, post the
Right,
same thing across all
right.
platforms,
And hope it works.
and just keep it going, because
Right,
my philosophy is like the least you can do is show up.
right,
As long as you're showing up, you don't have to be perfect,
right,
you don't have to have the perfect strategy,
right.
but if you are just showing up and being seen, that is half the work, and hopefully it pays off, right?
Yeah, but I think a lot of like showing up is great, right? But realistically, you have to look at the numbers. And when I say the numbers, I'm not talking the likes and the shares, because a lot of the things is people get hung up on the vanity metrics of likes and the shares, but people are watching you whether they're sharing your stuff or liking your stuff. So you have to look at the analytics, how long somebody looked at it, watched it. And then you kind of have to rinse and repeat what's working and then stop doing what's not, because ultimately you're wasting your time spinning your wheels. That's why a lot of us feel like we're spinning our wheels, because we're just doing all of the things and then it's not working. It's not
Mhm.
producing any results. But I think with social media, so here's the thing with social media: only about 1% of the people that watch you
Or
are going to buy.
yeah.
So realistically, if you are not getting in front of new people every week, every month, then your leads have already dried up. So you have to be strategic and look at every aspect of your marketing as a lead generation tool, which if you got a podcast, this is a perfect lead generation tool. You always want to send them back to your calendars, your websites, your free resources. The more you can give to people with no expectations, the likely they are to trust you and to buy. So I think, you just have to be really strategic. And a lot of business owners think that because they like something or they would buy it,
Mm.
that their customer is going to buy. And that's not true, because what you think solves their problem, the reason they're not buying is because either your messaging is off, your offer or your service is not something that they want or that they need. And you can't ultimately, if it's not packaged or positioned correctly, you can't profit from it. So you have to look at the data, stop doing what's not working, reverse engineer what your competitors are doing, because honestly, if it's working for them, it could possibly work for you. You just have to add your creative spin on it. Add your little, you know, sizzle or sazzle glitter. You got to add that to it, because you can't really mimic someone else and hope that it's going to work. It may work, but at the end of the day, it's yours. You have to show up and be present and get in front of your audience and be true to yourself and make sure everything's aligned with you, your marketing, your business, all of the above. And look at it as a lead generation
Mhm.
avenue. So,
I know like lead magnets and all these things are like super necessary, and they're talked about a lot. But there's so many different approaches that you can have, so many ways you can execute it. And I feel like every time I listen to someone else's podcast, I hear something new. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, that's a great idea. I should try that. But there's so many things like
yeah.
coming in and out. From your experience, the clients you've worked with, You know, what are some of the tried and true lead magnets that you have seen that I'm not asking for like quick,
Yeah.
fast, crazy explosive growth, but things that have proven to work time and time again in terms of lead generation.
Things that trigger that emotional and that desire to get them to want it. And it could be a checklist. Listen, it could be a variety of different things, but you have to think about who your buyer is, not your audience. And when I say who is buying your services, so let me just give you an example. So if you have your audience may be children, but we know children are like our broke best friends. They have no money, but they always want something. So you have to trigger the
I
It's
love
true,
that.
right? So the audience is the children, but ultimately the buyer is the parents. So you have to trigger the emotions for those parents so that they can buy. So, depending on what the product is or the service is, the verbiage has to be right. And you have to speak to that pain point to trigger those buyers to want to buy. So, a lead magnet can be anywhere, anything from a checklist, something, it has to be easily digestible because honestly, I don't I've got like maybe
Like
20,
we
25 ebooks.
yeah, we see the free
Yeah,
like
no.
we see the free downloadable PDFs like all the time.
Right.
But I noticed myself getting like wrapped into a lead magnet recently. And I usually like once I identify because I am like a marketer and I understand it, like once I identify I'm like, "Oh, they just want my email. Okay, I'll just keep it going."
Right.
But like
Right.
I did like without hesitation give my email because I discovered information that I have not been able to find anywhere else. It was like the first time I had ever seen someone talk about this specific topic and provide a solution to something that I didn't even know existed. So I feel like if you I mean that's the hard part. Like there's a lot of templates,
Yeah.
there's a lot of checklists, maybe like recipes, like
Yeah.
meal plans we
Yeah.
see a lot of with like fitness influencers, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Um, but since it is a creator economy now, I
Right.
mean, truly, it's a saturated market when it comes to this stuff, I think. So like maybe identifying like really, really looking at what makes you different and that special piece of that specialized information that you can provide. And even though that might be the very information that you are going to profit off of, like maybe that's the thing that you make your lead magnet because people don't hire consultants or coaches just because they have information that you don't have.
Right.
Especially now that we're in the time of AI, right?
Right. Right.
It's because they're hiring someone that they want to be supported by
Right.
and be held accountable by and work with closely and have that relationship with. So yeah, I mean, just goes back to like the more you give without expecting,
Yeah.
the more you'll earn,
Right.
honestly.
Right. So I guess I want to go back to what was that lead magnet that you downloaded?
Okay, so
And what was the problem you
I
didn't know you had until you
I love like giving real examples of things and like workshopping too. So yeah, happy to talk about this. So it was like you're just gonna laugh. Like
am I gonna
it's kind
laugh?
of silly.
But is it good though?
So it was like this one girl that I found on my explore page and she like showed her transformation. I think she was already like thin, right? But she like really just was in the transformation photo. She was like probably maybe 10 pounds lighter, not even, but like she just looked so snatched and like but just like on an inflammation level, I think.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So she had like this downloadable guide on these random like posture exercises and like her whole platform was built off of like transforming you into like the hottest version of yourself or whatever through improved posture. And I've been like super into, increasing my protein and like weightlifting and doing all these other things to
Right.
like trim fat or whatever. But I was like, she kind of made you realize that not only does good posture make you appear more attractive and like powerful,
Right.
but these exercises also like drain your lymphatic system and make you look skinnier when you're not even actually losing weight. It's just like excess fluid or whatever.
So she appealed to a
So
desire or an
she appealed
emotion,
to,
right?
and I'm sure I'm like, I
But
mean, there's like consumers like me all over the place right now. I mean, we're seeing people post their weight loss transformations left and freaking right because of these GLP-1s, but hers like wasn't that at all. She was already fit, but she had a glow up simply because she was doing these simple just simple
yeah,
little exercises that you could do in 2 minutes, and that was another thing that differentiated because she really leaned into, like, how quick and easy this stuff was, how accessible it is to
right.
so many people. So, yeah, I totally drank the Kool-Aid. I signed up for the thing. I think I even, like, ended up paying, like, $30 for a digital
The
product,
fact that you didn't even know,
but I
but
also
listen,
never went
she
and,
didn't
like,
know you. You didn't know her very
no.
well.
No,
I
I
mean,
and it took me 10 minutes of scrolling.
oh,
That was my first encounter with her. Within 10 minutes,
listen.
I was sold. And I was, like,
But do
waiting
you
for my
see?
chiropractor's
But
appointment
do you
too.
see how like and that's what I mean, like when you trigger the desire or the emotions, it could be the verbiage, it could be an image, it could be just, oh, I don't first of all, you're a busy professional. You don't have time. So anything that saves time or is convenient or no, like I don't want to buy another dusty ebook. Like that's
Mhm.
why I
Yeah.
literally have a Google Drive full of ebooks. I don't even know if I read the first other than the title page. I don't know if I don't have time. So I think the lead magnets, they're great, but it's not what you want, it's what your buyers want. So you have to appeal to the desires and their emotions. And she obviously did it well because you bought something not
I
too long,
did.
right? So I mean,
It's
like
not hard to sell me things
no,
though.
but it's
I'm
not
like,
hard to sell if you talk to them and meet them where they are. You also said something that stood out to me was you didn't know you had that you weren't aware that that was a problem. So the 5
yeah.
stages of the buying cycle is so it's like um problem unaware. Like you didn't know you had a problem. And then somebody showed up and you're like, "Oh, right?" And then it's problem unaware, aware,
And I think she
solution
did
aware.
I think she showed me that that was an issue because she showed her transformation. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like I said, the difference wasn't weight loss. It was just posture and fluid retention,
But
which I
you didn't know
yeah,
until
and
you
it
saw
like
it.
unlocked this new
Listen.
problem that I now have.
Right. So, and then that's when once we kind of realize there's a solution out there, then we start going down that rabbit hole of Google, right? And you may have Googled her to see, like, oh, I found her Instagram page. Let's see what is she practicing what she preaches.
Mhm.
So then you build that trust along the way. And it didn't take that long for you to buy till you to get to the fifth stage to buying something from her because she did her homework. She knew what her buyers wanted, what they needed, what they were looking for, and you fell for it. And not in a bad way, but I mean realistically, a lead magnet doesn't even have to be
Like a catch. There's
no.
yeah,
It
it's
could be
not like
a
an unethical thing.
no, but a lot of them are though because it's not
Is it
like
or do you mean that because some of them like overpromise?
yes.
Okay.
A lot of people are over promising, under delivering. And then there's the complete opposite where you have people who are phenomenal at what they do, but they're undercharging and over delivering.
Mm.
But there's other ways to think of lead generation strategies on the front end other than a lead magnet. So depending on your business, we have it's something called a product preview where you basically give someone a sample of what it is, what it's like to work with you. That's where a lot of free consultation or discovery calls, where if you can, it's the same thing as a lead magnet, where you have to and trigger their emotion with the desires. If you can get somebody on a call and you can get them to have a couple aha moments, they're likely to buy from you
Yeah.
on, just from being on that phone call with you for 15, 30 minutes. Um, there's something called a lost leader form of lead generation on the front end where you kind of know, like, let's say you're a product based business. If it doesn't cost you much to produce that item, you may give that as a sample or a preview just to get them in the door and then make more money on the back end, if that makes sense. So, like, I don't know, like
Like
some of,
beauty brands do it all
yeah.
the time and stuff like that. Yeah.
So
Like
it just,
Sephora will send little samples or
yeah,
whatever.
but it just depends on what type of business you are. So lead magnet may work for you. If you're a corporate or a consultant, you may do a white paper or a case study or a free training, something digestible to that particular audience. So lead magnets work, but they're not, and it's not one size fits all, and it does not. You should be more creative as far as enticing people to sign up to buy from you or to get a taste of your expertise. It just depends on
Hmm.
who your audience and who the buyer is. So you have to think about who your audience is and who your buyer is, because a lead magnet doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah. And
So
so do you think like, is it normal or not for people to like for businesses to have multiple lead magnets and use certain ones with certain audiences?
yeah.
Like so you have a podcast, so like you would if someone had a their own podcast where they
Mhm.
talk about stuff related to what they consult or coach people on, then they probably would suggest like let's hop on a call, like
Mhm.
see if we jive together. But maybe on their social media they're using a different lead magnet.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, all marketing is not created equal. So you kind of have to meet them where they are. But ultimately, you don't want to be reinventing the wheel for every channel you're on. So there's a woman that I follow who she's pretty intentional. I don't know if her name you might be familiar with her. Her name's Sunny. Um, is it Lenarduzzi? Or she's pretty good at she's got her podcast, but she sends them all back to her website into her one lead magnet. All of her social media channels, they talk about her podcast. So she sends them to her podcast. And
Okay,
then
so it's like a funnel
it's
almost.
literally a fun, but that's what
Yeah.
it is. Like your lead magnet and your social media channels should be like a funnel.
Yeah, so that makes sense why the social media would lead to the podcast,
Yeah.
and then the podcast will lead to the website, because I think the hardest place to get people to land is your website.
Yeah.
So usually that's probably the bottom of the
Mhm.
funnel, and then the top is the place where you have the widest net, which would be
Yes.
social media, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
You just said it. Because that's ultimately what a funnel is. The top, you cast the widest net and you appeal to more people. And then as you nurture them down the funnel, those are
Yeah. And
at
if
the end of the
people are
funnels,
like
people want to buy.
interested enough to invest an
Hmm.
hour of their life
Yes.
into listening to your podcast, then they're most likely going to be interested enough to then check out your website and like
Right.
become a customer or a loyal follower of you,
Correct.
subscriber,
That's correct.
whatever the
So
goal is.
I would, if I was any business, I would um, treat all of your social media, your podcast, all should be cohesive to your brand. It should all be similar to a funnel. Like LinkedIn, they have the featured sections. A lot of your lead magnets can go into your
Oh,
featured
okay.
section. But yes, it's not uncommon to have multiple lead magnets for each audience. The only thing is, just don't make it overly complicated and confusing to where people don't know who you're talking to. So I work with local businesses. And when I say local, I mean local that businesses that serve their community. And I also work with coaches and consultants. So although those are totally different um,
Yeah.
avatars, um, my messaging is still toward lead generation strategies, offer creation, because you have to have an offer or a service. All an offer is how you package and present your services. Um, so I talk about that with my local businesses that I work with. I talk about that with my coaches and the consultants that I work with. And so, although they're two different avatars, the messaging is still the same. But the
Mhm.
lead magnet will be different because they have different, you may have brick and mortars in the local businesses. You may have whatever it is, that lead magnet is specifically for them and what they need. And then I have my lead magnet for my coaches and for my consultants.
Yeah, and of course, like the offer comes first
Yes.
before the lead. You can't have a lead generation without a good offer.
Yes. 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 So, yeah, I
I
mean,
love it.
you do?
I think that for some people like myself, all I knew when I started this thing is that I wanted to start a brand.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I've known since I was young that I wanted to build a brand. But when I was young, I was like, I want to invent a product. Like I've always wanted to sell like a consumer product.
Right.
I would still love to do that, but I'm still waiting for my big idea, right?
Right. Right.
But I got the opportunity to build this brand, so I was like, I'm gonna just start doing it, and I'm gonna figure out what my offer is, or what is going to make this business some revenue here
Right.
eventually, as I start to, once I have an audience to sell to.
Right.
That was my philosophy when I started. I was like, I'm going to build the audience, and then I'm going to figure out the rest when I get there.
Yeah.
So,
The fact that you're saying you're going to figure it out is what a lot of entrepreneurs they get, or want entrepreneurs, I call them. You want to be an entrepreneur, but you get hung up on the what to do and how to do it. You're figuring it out. That's the
yeah,
best.
where I think we're headed now is completely different, and I wouldn't even probably been able to wrap my head around it when I started
Yeah.
CNY Women's Network, but I know it's going to change next year, and I'm going
Yeah.
to discover something else that some other avenue we could probably get into, right? But that being said, now that we are starting to navigate what the business looks like, what do we do for people? How do we help people? What are our services? What are our products? It's been hard for me to kind of explain that and position that myself. I think when we first launched the membership community, I really really struggled, but I've learned a lot since launching it, and have really started to navigate how we are selling it and communicating what it is, what the value is, right? But let's get into, if someone wants to start a business and maybe they're really really good at something. They know they're really good at something. They have a specialty, and they want to work with more, they want to create more of like a high ticket product or
Mm.
service.
Mhm.
How do you get from point A to point B? Like how do you execute that and deliver it?
So first off, you got to have you can think you're really good at something, but you have to have the actual proof. We like receipts, right?
Okay.
So you ultimately have practiced that and you've become really good at it and you have proof. You have case studies, you have testimonials, you have reviews, you have all of these things. So the way to package it is to, first of all, I tell anyone I work with, let's package it. You don't have to throw everything in the kitchen sink into your offer, because you and I both know you can over deliver and be undercharging. So if you have the receipts and you have the expertise and you have the experience and you want to attract a higher um, ticket clientele, you have to have a very clear transformation, because people buy transformation. They don't buy information, because if they want, they can go on Google or YouTube or ChatGPT and they can find all the information. So you have to have a very clear process. So I have processes and transformations that I can give people. And that's because I've worked through trial and error and I've worked and created those things, and I've seen what works and what doesn't work. And what doesn't work, you take it out. So I think first you have to be very clear on your transformation that you give people in order for you to demand a premium price. And then you have to position yourself. And when I say position is, how do you show up? Like when somebody looks you up, what are you saying? What are you doing? Do you have the receipts? Do you have the proof? What's your value proposition? What is the clear transformation you're saying you give, and you have the receipts to back it up? So
Mhm.
ultimately, you just have to do it, show up, get results for people, and be consistent. I mean, it's
And
really,
like make sure you are getting those testimonials,
yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's like
yes,
something we're trying to navigate right now,
yes,
is we get a lot of great feedback,
yeah,
but I was just talking to my team the other day, is like, okay, how are we keeping track of all these wonderful pieces of feedback that we can maybe use for future marketing efforts.
Oh, so
Um,
how are you, if you don't mind me asking?
we're still figuring that out. Do you have any suggestions?
Yes. You have a CRM, right?
We do have a CRM, but like I personally, like a few months back, started like a folder in Google Drive that's just called social proof that I
Mhm.
was just screenshotting things. And
Yeah.
of course, responding and saying, hey, could I potentially use this for a testimonial and getting their consent, of course. But that's really it. But I would like to have a much more calculated and organized way of making sure we are keeping track of all of this amazing feedback that we're able to share and keeping it organized simply because there are so many things we do. So we get feedback on our events, get feedback on our, you know, advertising services and different stuff like that
Do
too.
you have Google My Business? No?
What's Google My Business?
Google My Business is a business account set up to collect. You can collect reviews,
W-
testimonials on your Google My Business. You don't have to have a physical location.
Okay.
You can have be
I
a
got to do that
virtual.
for CNY
Yeah,
Women's Network.
you can
I
collect
have
from
one
them
for my
and
I had
just
one for
send
my
a
makeup
link.
business.
It can, if you don't have a CRM, you can create a Google My Business, and I would just send a link, and it's a templatized, just asking for feedback, and you just, I mean,
Mhm.
people are eager to share when you do a good job or you do good work, and they are twice as likely to share when you don't
I
do a good
know.
job,
I
right?
I know that for
So,
well, they're twice as likely to document it
oh, and then
when they don't
and don't,
like
and
what
they'll
you
find that Google My Business. But if you have Google
and
My,
they'll find that.
yeah, so I would start there, like create a Google
No,
My
yeah, when
Business
people have positive feedback, they're like happy to give it to
to
you,
you.
but it's like, okay, now can you like type this up in a this long form and it's like nobody wants to do that,
Yeah.
So it's
So,
really hard to
yeah.
capture the transformation,
Yeah.
but it is such an important part of the marketing
Yeah. So I would
process.
just start with a Google My Business account. If you have a, and then just send them a link and say, hey, can you give us positive feedback? And people will give you the feedback. If you have a CRM, a lot of CRMs have the back end where you can integrate it to your Google My Business, and then you can send an automated message, which that's what I do. I send automations, and
What do you use for your CRM?
I use high level for my,
Mhm.
so, but I mean, that's, but that's like an all-in-one marketing CRM platform.
And you really
Um,
like that
I
one?
love it.
Are there any other platforms you've tried or
Um,
things that you've heard about that you're interested in?
no,
Okay.
because I'm one of those people, like, once I'm sold on something,
Mhm.
and it works and it serves multiple purpose, for me and my business. So I didn't want to have to get an email service provider and back end. It just was too much. Social media account. It just was, I can do all of it from, I can manage my ads. I can do all of that through high level. So that's kind of why I use that. But if you're a business starting out and you need testimonials and proof, I would start with Google My Business. It's free. So,
Yeah. Well, it was that like that transformation picture of the person that I bought their lead magnet from. It was that transformation, the before and after that
yeah.
really caught my attention. And, just from seeing that, I mean, I've noticed it with some of the other content I consume is like, I'm definitely on like fitness talk
Yeah.
weightlifting talk now.
But
So like
that's,
just seeing people's transformations gets me every single time.
yeah.
Even if I'm not buying your lead magnet, I'm watching
Yeah.
your content until the end because
Right.
I want to figure out how did you get there.
Right. And then even then, if you have the social proof and the pictures and all of the things, it increases the likelihood of people buying. So I think, um, you know, just come, I would, like, as a whole, you have to have a marketing system, a sales system. All of that is cohesive together. You have to, but proof is how people will find you, and you'll show up a lot quicker, sooner, and search results also. If you have a Google My Business and you come up with positive reviews, the negative ones will show up too. uh,
So you said that I'm assuming that you work with a lot of people that, end up over delivering and
mhm.
undercharging. So
Yes.
how do you help, them change that? And like, what are some of the mindset shifts that you try to give them?
I find the mindset shift to be the hardest part, for most
That is the barrier.
yeah, most people with any expertise, the mindset, because oftentimes we anchor our beliefs to what's happening, and it's a feeling, it's not a fact. So just because someone's not buying, that doesn't devalue your worth. So I think oftentimes I start with the mindset, because it sounds cliche, but like I had to do it with myself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
when I'm working with people, we always work together to distinguish what's fact and what's fiction. So I'm not getting any sales. It's because you're not getting any sales because you're not asking people to buy. That's a fact. That's the fact. It's not because your product stinks or your service is not good. It's because you're not putting yourself in front of people. So we distinguish what's fact and what's fiction. But I think ultimately, I have a framework I use because I have to use it myself. Which it's an acronym for called TAP. And the T is for the thoughts that we have, and it's internal chatter. It can either be a launch pad or a landmine for us, no matter business, relationships, whatever it is. And the A is for authority, that um, are we asking for permission, or are we showing up
Mm. That's
as the
huge.
expert that we are, right? And then the P is for power, because I feel like if you can't control your thoughts and you can't show up in your authority, you can't activate the power to show up authentically or to deliver or serve the people you were called to serve. So um, you have to reframe and shift your mindset. It has to be, and it's not the toxic positivity that everybody is talking about manifesting without doing the work. You have to do the work. And it usually is your mindset. So I start there. And then we also have some role shifts that we have to um, go through. When I work with people, they tend to want me to do the work for them because I'm an expert in this, but I'm not an expert in your field. So I need you to understand that although I'm an expert here, you're an expert. You're the expert. So I need you to get comfortable making decisions like the expert, the CEO,
Mhm.
and the founder that you are. So
Yeah.
we shift our mindset, we shift the roles, and then I oftentimes find those tend to work. Once we shift those, then we can start working on the offer. And the offer is deciphering what is it you like to do, what gets the most results, and whatever you don't like to do, stop doing it. Because I don't care if you're not actively engaged and excited about the services you provide and you're misaligned, you're not you're
It's
not going to get the transformation.
people can
Yeah.
sense that.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a matter of leveraging your own expertise, shifting your mindset, and oftentimes being comfortable to make decisions in the role that you're
Yeah.
in.
Just leaning
Yeah.
fully in and
Yeah.
like being okay with not doing everything that you think
Mhm.
that people want you to be doing
Yeah.
or that you think you should be doing. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of people hire coaches, consultants because they have a very specific problem or area that they need to improve in, and they are hiring the best person to help them with that.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a good thing to literally just have maybe one, two services, and
Yeah.
like that is what you do. And that's what you show
Yeah.
up and speak every day.
Yep.
It's like also like most marketing is like the best marketers are the people that like shove their product into your face the most.
Yeah.
The best
Yes.
the brands that are the best at marketing in my opinion are the brands that are at the top of everyone's mind, and it's not because they have the best product, it's because they are shoving themselves in your face
Yeah.
every day. And
Yeah.
on everywhere you look, there they are.
Yeah. Apple.
Yeah.
Because I don't I I gripe about my Apple products, but I keep going back. But I mean, because they have good quality, but I mean, like, they do a very good job of shoving Apple in my face. And I'm not an Android. I'm a ride or die with my Apple,
Yeah.
so yeah, I get it. And I think that marketing is just one of those things where you have to, I think as business owners, it's one of the hats that we don't want to wear, but you have to because it affects your bottom line and you have to know the data and the numbers. So if you have, I oftentimes tell people you have too many services
Mm.
and they hate when I say that.
You're not an agency.
Yeah. And I'm just like, and they're like, and I'm like, but is it making you any money?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but you can tell me you got 12 services, 12 offerings. Which ones or which one is making you the most money? Do you like doing that? Because at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie
Why do you think people need why do you think people think they need to have 12 services?
because I mean, we all kind of have that mentality where we are doing all of the things.
I mean, just because you can do them,
Yeah,
because you're a highly
no,
competent, high performing person, which is
right.
awesome,
Yeah, you can't.
it doesn't mean that
You should, right?
that'll work. Like
No.
in terms of like a business or.
So I've noticed a lot of very successful businesses. If you don't have the money up front, you can't. You have to have one offer. You have to scale that offer and then you can add more
Mhm.
services
Once you
later.
build the brand and
Yeah,
people
you can't
trust.
be doing all of the things and then wondering why it's not working.
I mean, it's the same thing with products. Usually,
Yeah.
like from what I've seen, like as someone who would love to build a brand like with consumer products, like that is the model I've seen. It used to be where like you would have these big, household names that would carry like Walmart, right? They're carrying every single product line or whatever, but that's a bad example. Maybe like Campbell's, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like they have like 20 different soups. But nowadays, like one of my, I would say a really good um example of a brand that I think has scaled really smartly and intentionally is Bloom. Are you familiar with Bloom?
Mm-mm.
They started out with one product. It was the Bloom greens, and they just zeroed in on refining that product and making that product go as viral as possible. It's like everywhere you looked, every influencer was freaking drinking these Bloom greens, right? At least every female influencer, because their competitor, AG1
Oh,
Athletic
okay.
Greens,
I
was
know it.
definitely the aesthetic of the brand. It was definitely more geared towards like men and more like fitness enthusiasts, whereas like the Bloom greens were like marketed towards more women and just more wellness
Right.
enthusiasts, right? So, anyways, these greens go crazy. They give it a good, I think, like 3 full years of just like streamlining that one product, and then now they just started to diversify, and then they just brought out like a gut healthy energy drink,
Yeah.
and they're completely disrupting I think they're disrupting the energy drink market, because this is the first energy drink that I have seen that is being marketed towards women just like me. Women that care about their health, care about their gut health, want to feel good, but also like enjoy an energy drink and want
Right.
something that tastes good.
Right.
I freaking love a Celsius, but Lord knows all of the chemicals and crap that's in that, so I don't drink them. And this is like the first energy drink that I've drank and that I don't feel guilty about, that I enjoy the taste of. So it's like I just love watching brands like that scale and grow so intentionally, but I think that strategy of like starting with that one product
One.
and getting that product into as many hands of people as possible, so that the name Bloom is
Yep.
trusted by your target audience, which is, for me, wellness minded women. Um, I think it's brilliant, and you can do the same strategy for professional services if you want.
Yep. I mean, if not, you're going to be spinning your wheels. And you can't, sometimes we are doing too many things and we have too much data to analyze. So it gets overwhelmed. So we often neglect it. So I think if you start with one offer, one audience, one service, one channel of marketing,
Mhm.
then you can, slowly
It's
grow.
manageable.
I just think we are just told by the gurus that we have to do it this way. But I think oftentimes we're not, we see where they are and we measure our business to where they are. And that's not the way you should do it. You have to look at, you can't be missing the foundational elements of your business, first of all. You have to s- start where you are and then you can grow. But what you can't do is emulate bigger brands and hope that that's going to work for you because you don't have their marketing budget. Do
Mhm.
you even have a marketing budget?
Yeah, that's
Like,
like a delusional.
yeah. So I
I
just
mean,
think,
it's in good intention. There's
yeah,
good
but
intentions behind that. It's
I,
admirable, but it's just not realistic.
modeling and emulating is not the same. Because if
Mhm.
you model, then you have to look at where they started from and build the foundational blocks of business. And when you emulate, you're ultimately, it's like second best, or if you even get second best, right? But you have to have the foundational elements in place before you can even think about emulating. So you can model a business, but emulating and is not the same as modeling, if that makes any sense. But I would start with one offer, one service, one audience, and one marketing channel. And then, as you grow and you get the data to make those informed decisions, then you can grow and scale and become more profitable as you go.
If someone that wanted to start a business like this year, say, were looking, you say one marketing channel.
Mhm.
And I know that we all are like, oh my gosh, we're so overwhelmed because we feel like we have to be everywhere, right? What do you think would be the smartest first marketing channel for a business owner to invest in?
So it depends on what your business is. So I would say, even though organic takes the longest, I'm I'm all for the organic marketing, which could be blogging, posting. However, I do believe that the external marketing, like we have so many opportunities to connect and collaborate with other people. Um, if you want to get in front of other people's audiences, I think organic marketing is the best way. And you can target them through collaborating and borrowing authority and other people's lists, such as collaborating on social media, podcast, even hosting like workshops and things like that, getting in front of new audiences and new people every day. But that's like organic and it can be free. So I think organic marketing is the best
Yeah.
way to start
Yeah.
and get,
Especially if you can get in
yeah.
front of people, right? So, like hosting events.
I am all for organic marketing, get in front of the right people at the right time and being strategic about it. I don't think people should be wasting their time doing things that is not going to produce results.
Hmm.
So I think social media is great, but realistically, are you a content creator? Are you
Yeah.
looking to be an influencer or are you looking to grow your brand? And grow means you can get more eyes on it, but ultimately you got to get more sales.
Hmm.
So you have to be intentional about the people you get in front of. So I think I would start with organic and also be intentional. Think about the other people you could collaborate with and get in front of their audiences.
One of the people I've had on this podcast, Arel Moody, mentioned that.
Oh,
He's like,
he's
he
funny.
mentioned that he thinks that a lot of business owners spend too much time, getting excited about like social media posts and like spend so much time on their social media when that's not what's moving the needle in your
Right.
business. That's not converting to clients and might, give you some short-term engagement and gratification, but
Right.
you're right. And it really is like, would you invest all of your money into one place? No, they tell you to diversify your
Right.
portfolio. So,
Right.
um yeah, it's just nice to have like someone like you, like a voice of reason and give, support business owners and give people the ability to zoom out and
Yeah.
actually take a second so they can analyze the strategy and
Yeah.
see what's working, what's not, and where do we need to put our time and energy.
I mean, I'm all for social media, but I think honestly, if you can invest 20% of your time and that can produce 80% of the results, like
Hmm.
I don't like you have an audience, you have a great audience. If I'm somebody's listening to this podcast, it's a one to many aspect of marketing channel, right? As opposed to one with the one to one sales calls or meeting. You have to be strategic. So I try to practice what I teach my clients, and that's speaking engagements. It's hosting workshops. It's podcasts. It's media pitching and different modes of media outlets, right? Because ultimately you build credibility at the same time you're getting in front of new people who don't know you. And then when I talk to my local businesses, you still have to get in front of people. People don't know, some people don't even know you exist. They don't know where you are. That's getting your Google My Business profile up. It's, um, getting out there in your community. Um, Vendor fairs, vendor events, joining associations and organizations that are going to get you in front of the right people. So you have to be strategic. It doesn't cost that much money because when you first start out, you're not making any money. So you have to be intentional and think about who you can get in front of, who is likely to buy from you, build the relationships, build the trust, and build credibility at the same time. So that's organic, baby.
It's organic, baby.
Yeah.
Speaking of organic, we've got a workshop
We
coming
do.
up.
We got one.
Yeah,
I'm like,
guys. So May 29th, Yarden and the CNY Women's Network, we're going to be
yeah.
hosting a little lunch and learn at Common Space here in downtown Syracuse.
Good food.
Good food. We're going to have good
Yes.
food. I am a foodie, as you may or may not know. So you already know we're going to have great food.
Mhm.
Catering is still TBD, but I'm pretty like 99% sure we're going to lock in who we want.
Okay.
We're supposed to hear back from them today, actually. But anyways, so this lunch and learn is going to be taking place from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. on Thursday, March 29th. And if you are a business owner that's listening to this podcast, if Yarden is resonating with you, if she is speaking to your soul right now, and if you need a little bit of help with, you know, packaging your offers, pricing your offers, and then of course marketing these offers to the right people,
Yeah.
we got you.
I'm your girl. I'm your girl. Yeah.
Yarden, what can attendees expect to walk away with from this
So
workshop?
it is, I am all about interaction. I feel like I am a very no nonsense kind of person. I don't want information hoarders. I want you to show up and be intentional about what are you going to take away and what are you going to do? Like, are you going to take imperfect action? So I think ultimately, if you're going to come to this workshop, the goal is to own your authority and know you have a specialized expertise in something. You're just looking for a little guidance on how to package it. And when I say package, what is it that you know you can do to get results and get that transformation? So we can walk through that. Positioning, what's your value proposition? How are you showing up? What are you showing up? Like, how are you showing up on your social channels? Actually, how are you showing up? What's it resonate in your mind? How are you showing up and talking to yourself as an authority? And pricing, I need you to let go of the negative anchors you have about pricing. We oftentimes are anchored to these, we're not getting the sales, we're not getting the results. Pricing is about value based pricing. What is the transformation you can deliver? And tying it to an ROI. So if you
Mhm.
can forget about how much your competitors are charging, what uniquely positions you to charge that much because you have gotten results. And if you can tie your pricing and your packaging and services to an ROI, people love that. So I think people need to know what value-based pricing is, and I can deliver a thing or two on some pricing. So
Yeah. This is going to be a great workshop. I'm personally excited
yeah.
about attending it. I think there's so much I can learn from you. So, if this interests you guys, again, it's going to be on Thursday, May 29th, and you are going to have access to an expert here on this stuff. There's not
Mm,
many people I know, at least, in this community that specialize in these specific areas of marketing, but they're so, so, so important, especially
yes.
if you want to make a little bit of money in 2025,
Yes, we gotta be
right?
about them coins, honey.
Yes, if you are trying to get to that bag and you just need a little bit of help
Yeah.
selling your product, come to this event on Thursday, May 29th with Yarden in the CNY Women's Network. This event is open to all. You do not have to be a woman to attend. So come on down to Common Space, have lunch with us, and learn with us and engage because there's going to be some engagement.
Yes.
So tickets for this event is going to be $30 for members of the CNY Women's Network and Common Space. And if you're not a member, that's okay. You can come too. It's going to be $55. And I think it's a great price, honestly, for the amount of
It
knowledge they're going to
is.
be gaining
It
and
is.
also just that one-on-one connection with someone like you.
Yeah.
You're going to have a consultant in your back pocket for 2 hours. So
Yeah.
be sure to come on
You better
down,
have a
y'all.
big pocket because I'm a big woman. So, ooh,
Yeah,
I do.
it's going to be a good time. So,
Yes.
yeah, this is great. Yarden, how can people connect with you if they loved you, they want to hear
Oh
more?
man.
Where can they
I
find you?
You can find me. I am really active on LinkedIn. Yeah.
We'll add your link to your profile in
Yeah.
our show notes.
Just find me on LinkedIn. I do a little dibbling and dabbling on Instagram, but I'm not
LinkedIn's your home.
yeah, I'm not a social media girl. I like to get out and get in the thick of it. So,
That's all right, but you're
yeah.
booked and busy, so
Yeah.
that just goes to show you don't need
Yeah.
to be all over social
No,
media.
you don't.
I love it. Well, I'm so looking forward to this workshop, Yarden. Thank you so much for sitting down with
Oh,
me and
thank
this was
you.
so much fun to chat with you about this stuff. It's
Oh,
right up my alley and I could talk about it all day.
we could talk all day. We could talk.
All right, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, guys, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Cultivate CNY. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you left us a review and make sure you're subscribed to the show. Speaking of the show, if you or someone you know wants to be our next guest on Cultivate CNY, you can submit an application. Just click the link in the show notes and we'll be in touch soon. If you're a business owner that's interested in getting in front of our audience and would like to find out more about sponsorship or advertising opportunities, shoot us an email at podcast@cnywomensnetwork.com. We'd love to work with you. All right, that's it for now. We will catch you next Monday.